Hello, and how's it going? This is your host, Isaiah Whitmore with the So I've Been Thinking podcast. I'm going to start out with a big ol' happy Black History Month. It's our month, quote unquote. Apparently, this year marks the 100th year anniversary of Black History Month being something that's observed on Turtle Island by African Americans, American Negroes, Black Americans, Solani, whatever you call yourself. You know what I'm talking about if you know anything about us and our history. So big up yourself to all my people, my Black Americans, those of us that had to survive the transatlantic slave trade, chattel slavery, and just all the atrocities that America has just consistently dropped on us over and over and over and over and over again. We're still here. We're still Black. We're still proud. I'm proud of us. I'm proud of what we've accomplished. I'm proud of what there is still to accomplish. And my hope is that we do our very, very, very best to empower the next generation to take things much further than it seems like we're currently willing to. Um, I don't rule it out. I don't rule it out at all. But I feel like I'm doubtful that any sort of major upheaval to the point to where we're liberated is going to happen. I'm doubtful. I could be wrong, but I'm very doubtful. Just because I feel like I've been in so many spaces where liberatory organizing type work is supposed to be happening, and it's not happening at all. It's people that are like putting themselves in a certain space using certain language, and they're the only ones, fucking them and their close people are the only ones benefiting. The whole entire Minneapolis City Council and the St. Paul City Council, for the most part, is a bunch of people that talk a lot of really good game, but are not actually doing anything for the most part. For the most part, with exceptions of a few. If you see me reposting certain people, it's because by and large I have a genuinely positive perspective. So let's just be real clear about that. But by and large, they're not doing much of anything with the power office to really make things any better for regular people. That should always be a problem. Because if you got power, you should be using it for the people. If that's what that's who you're supposedly down for. That's my perspective anyway. I'm gonna use every Thursday. All these episodes they're gonna be dedicated to some black shit, and some Black Americans I feel like people should know about. Yeah, because I know I talk about people throughout the diaspora, but this being our month, I just really want to hone in and focus on people that we should be aware of that oftentimes we're not, or even like dispel certain myths or tell the full truth about certain people. That's what I want to use this episode to do. And this episode might not even be that long because I don't have a whole lot of super, I don't think, deep, long thoughts about a lot of these things currently, but it's just something that to continue to be consistent, continue to be here. You can't grow anything unless you continue to water the seeds that you sow. So we're just gonna roll like that. What I wanted to start with, there's two Phyllises. There's Phyllis Hyman, there's Phyllis Wheatley. These two Phyllises, I came in contact with Phyllis Wheatley when I was a child. Reading her poetry is what inspired me to write my first poems. And there's a spoken word somewhere on my YouTube, so if you go through it, you'll find it. And I just remember last year when I posted the specific spoken word that I did some research into her. One of the things I just found to be very interesting about her is how she was doing the best that she could to reconcile her West African beliefs as an enslaved person here in Turtle Island with Christianity and Jesus and all these Judeo-Christian ideologies that oftentimes are juxtapositioned to our more ancestral teachings. And there's she found a way to mold them and blend them both together. If I remember correctly, I believe she was one of the first Black American women to ever be published, specifically when it comes to poetry and that sort of fine art. Her poems, I would say they're heavy when it comes to her seemingly her understanding of how, I'm gonna call it as above, so below, just for the simple fact that I feel like so much of it is what's happening up here, her relationship with God, the universe, the sun, the moon, and how it influences us here. For me, from what I recall, there seems to be there's a lot about morality, planetary devices. Just it's interesting. You should definitely read it. I feel like she was a fascinating individual. Would definitely be a person that if I could go back in time, I would want to meet. Um, I believe that it's important to highlight individuals like her that trailblaze a path. For those of us, I'm not prolific in any way, shape, or form, but for other people that eventually become prolific, to stand on their shoulders, and the next person to stand on their shoulders, and so on, and so on, and so forth. That's how we grow. That's how we expand. That's how we do the things that we want to do on this plane, on this planet, so on and so forth. The next Phyllis that I'd like to speak about is Phyllis Hyman. I don't remember. I didn't discover her in my childhood because my childhood was interesting, to say the least. But Phyllis Hyman, I think, is one of the least respected, least spoken about queens of soul to me. To me, she's got full albums of just absolute ballads and her belting out songs, and just she was what, 6 foot tall. I believe, yeah, she was like me, a black person with one black parent. She was quote unquote statuesque, 6 feet tall. She had dirt balls like Michael Jordan trying to denigrate her because she wasn't the kind of person to just throw herself at a man. She respected herself. She respected her craft. She respected the fact that she called herself an Afro-American woman. There's interviews you can see if you were to look her up, where she was dealing with these execs and the Clive Davises of the world, because yes, his nasty ass has been around for a very long time. They were trying to like change her and her sound and her style and make her smaller, make her more palpable. People like Whitney Houston, unfortunately, ended up being basically kind of put up against her because Whitney Houston was kind of willing to take the baton and go whichever direction they told her to go. And that's no knock to Whitney, that's just the path that she chose to take, because that's the direction she wanted to go with music. And she had her own, as we should all know at this point, personal life issues that potentially spurned her to want to go in a direction that was just easy, go with the flow, whatever. And I don't really think that should be that much of a surprise to anybody, honestly. Yeah, so there's that. Phyllis like did so many different things musically, like so many different incredible things musically, from performing in clubs in Miami to finally getting a record deal to putting out, I would say, some of the better soul albums I've heard. She's got she's got 2 specific songs that really still kind of ring around in my mind that I enjoy when they pop up on my shuffle. I think one of her songs is called Gotta Make Changes, and it's literally talking all about collectivism, organizing, revolutionary energy, being a radical. Like, she was clicked up with the radicals of her time, and she used her voice, her money, and her platform a lot to work alongside black radicals and black revolutionaries. She was on that kind of timing. And it's, to me, I have a lot of respect for her for that, because so many people that end up where she ended up will be like, whoa, it might fuck up the bread, it might fuck up the bag. She didn't care. She cared about things being done the right way, our people being respected, and us finding ways to continue to move forward. And I really respect that about her. And then there's another, Quiet as Kept. Beyonce jacked a bunch of her styles from album covers to just fits, and people attribute things to Beyonce that they should be attributing to Phyllis Hyman. Beyonce does a shit job a lot of the time at attributing things back to where they're from, whether it's the little Africa album she did, or it's there's at least 7 to 8 looks I've seen specifically that she just jacked from Phyllis. And it's just kind of like, I think homages are cool. Number one, now they're overdone. And number two, if you're gonna take someone's whole flow and then not do anything to like pay them honor, respect, and homage, especially considering that unfortunately Phyllis Hyman's an ancestor. She's not with us anymore. She died of I'm gonna say alleged, because I still have a really hard time wrapping my head fully around the circumstances that led up to it. But yeah, so it's like, especially when people are passed away, it's like you shouldn't even have the ego thing of I don't want to give this person their props or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shouldn't be a thing at all. That shouldn't be anywhere in your mind space. But the woman is married to a monster, and hopefully his documentary comes out sooner than later. Punk ass bitch. Not her, him. Sean Carter, your days are numbered, nigga. But anyway, going back to Phyllis. Phyllis, she was also from Pittsburgh, too. I don't think a lot of people know that. Small town outside of Pittsburgh. And, yeah, I can't remember fully. It's been a little minute since I fully went into her backstory. But she's connected to folks that ended up being involved with The Cosby Show. And now The Cosby Show is not the greatest show. I'm not recommending it. This is not a big up. Fuck Bill Cosby. Nigga should have died in prison. Yeah. But she's just connected to people that in the not so distant past and in the present are still doing some good things, I would say, or doing notable things, i.e. The Cosby Show. Notable at one point. Maybe not so much anymore, but it was at one point. Yeah, and so I know that when her mother passed away, she'd always kind of dibbled and dabbled a little bit of, but it hadn't been, to my understanding, hadn't been like a problem. I'm not advocating for any sort of illicit use of anything, but me personally, I have no interest in condemning people for things that folks that y'all be looking up to running around. Like, there's so many things we could look down on people for. That's not something I'm willing to look down on a person for, personally. I feel like people got to do what they feel like is best for their bodies and their circumstances and their situations. Her weight fluctuated a lot because of the way that people are. People used to talk real crazy about her being tall and her fluctuating weight. And based off of what the public narrative is, she was supposed to perform at some big show, and she ended up taking her own life before she had an opportunity to perform at this big show. And was talking about how she was tired of the industry, tired of the demands on her, but that's how she wanted to go. So she took some sorts of pills and she exited. Which is unfortunate to me, because obviously losing people that we love is hard. Existing within careers that don't value us is harder. Currently experiencing this, I get it. But it's always sad, at least to me, to see voices like that are, for my opinion, responsible for classics that we just don't hear because she was such a defiant, I'm doing it my way type of gal. And so if you get a chance to look into both Phyllis Wheatley and Phyllis Hyman, do so. What better time than Black History Month to go connect with two ancestors that gave us some art that we can ponder and think on, and just really be, connected to and center ourselves with. I feel like that's really important. Next, this is like the not so nice part of this episode, because I'm like personally like sick and tired of seeing certain people held up on a pedestal, when it's like, I personally feel like if we're going to like acknowledge the things that someone accomplished, that's fine and dandy, cool. Y'all love a first black this, first black that, woo wah woo, right? My problem is when individuals like Haile Selassie, Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, however the hell, egotistical freak decided that he was going to take his French name and call himself Du Bois instead of Dubois, but was advocating for Black Americans to ingratiate themselves into white society via higher education and going off to fight in white man's wars, but you want to say your last name the wrong way. It just doesn't with your little goofy fucking Wild Bill Hickok mustache. Misogynist, abusive. I don't rate the dude. I don't rate him. I don't like this whole, he changed when he got older. What? You got all these innocent Black Americans' blood on your hands. You're doing bullshit to Ida B. Wells. Like, taking her off charters, calling her a radical, and trying to make her look like she's some crazy nut job when she's doing what you have no interest in doing, which is actually caring for Black Americans on the margins, the ones that actually need help, as opposed to you and your talented 10th fuckery. I don't respect him. I don't respect him. I've never read anything from him where I was like, interesting. I'm the type of nigga that if I read some shit that a person says, and then I go back and I look into them personally and I find out, oh, shit husband, shit father, misogynist, constantly fighting for white gays. I don't give a fuck what people say about you. I really don't. Because we be forgetting we still live on a continent that is mostly inhabited by our greatest mortal enemy. And so if they're constantly pumping certain people up to us, we should probably be like, maybe I should do more research. Maybe I should look into this. Maybe I should look into that. You know, because there's how many different individuals that have gone through history where there are not these massive moments where they are directly responsible for, I would say, irreversible harm. You go on, you advocate for someone to go send their fucking kid off to go get murdered in a world war that has nothing to do with us as Black Americans is nuts. It's fucking nuts. I don't personally feel like there's any coming back from getting innocent people killed. Me personally, that's my moral. That's where I'm at. Don't know where you niggas is. That's where I am. That's not, you don't do that. No, sir. No, sir. Yeah. So, there's that. So yeah, for me, it's fuck WB. Du boy, whatever the fuck his goofy ass called himself. Not a fan, never will be. Can't change my mind. Stay out the comment section. I'm not arguing with you. I don't do misogyny. I don't do misogynoir. I don't do erasure of people that are actively working at the community ground level. Like, that's me. It's what I'd be on. I don't want to hear nothing from you wannabe high and mighty academics that think you're so much better than everybody because you're doing it this way or you're doing it that way. There weren't so many motherfuckers like y'all. It'd be easier for regular people. If y'all weren't so bought into this system being the only way to be allowed to be successful to this point or to that point, the world wouldn't look the way that it does, for being completely honest with you. Because again, as much as we will do the whole, we're a minority, minority on Turtle Island, global majority everywhere else. Okay? So if we're choosing to stay here, we're choosing to ingratiate ourselves into the only system where there's any real economic power for us, because they're the ones with all the resources and all the money, and motherfucking fortunately, slavery and genocide, bing, 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 bing. Have they stopped either of those two things? No, they have not. It's just changed up a little bit, and they've incorporated more people, and they've gone to other countries, and now they're bringing other people over here to be wage slaves. We got fucking doctors and lawyers cleaning toilets. Anyways. Absolute nonsense. So, I should have said this in the beginning, but I'd be forgetting because my brain is just what it is. This episode's called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I'm saying the good, the bad, and the ugly because there's a lot of good in our history. There's a lot of bad as well, because it's just how humanity works. And then there's ugliness we don't like to talk about. What I just described about W.B. Du Bois, that's ugliness. Trying to erase a sister from history because she's a woman and because you don't like the shit that she has to say and how she goes about her business and how she gets shit fuck done. Go sit the fuck down somewhere. Sending people off to go die in white wars. Though, boom, boom, boom. 3 strikes of doom right there, sir. The next thing, Haile Selassie, the person that Rastafari is basic. I don't know if they worship him. I don't know what the fuck they do. Dude got Ethiopians labeled as Europeans because he basically went to all these different European countries and was like, hey, I am modernizing Ethiopia. We are not Africans. We are Europeans. You guys can come here, basically take what you want, making these crazy ass trade deals where they were getting absolutely screwed. But so long as he got to stay in power, he got to continue the genocide, he got to continue to try to expand the Ethiopian empire, it was all dandy. Basically, I would say he's the blueprint for these modern African leaders that are doing fuck all for their people. So, yeah, Selassie, big L. big time. No sir. I don't believe genociders should be worshipped in any context whatsoever. Next up, they're really all in the same sort of vein, so I'm just going to talk about them together. And these are probably not necessarily names that you'd even think of, right? So, James Brown, Elijah Muhammad, I don't know what the fuck his normal name is, but we got those two, and Marcus Garvey, and Marvin Gaye, right? These four gentlemen have very similar issues, okay? But also very different, right? So, the Elijah Muhammad character ended up creating a cult that was based off of, very loosely I'll say based off of Islam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so on and so forth, right? But he made himself like the modern day spokesperson for God, right? And then we go some years, you know, they're doing these things. I'm going to say they're doing very cult-like things where they're creating communes and they're creating their little economies and jobs where they can be ingratiated into the thing, but at a cost, right? You got to dress a certain way, practice certain things. I'm the prophet. I get to go on and sire all these kids with these underage women, and it's the will of God. That's why Malcolm X left. Malcolm X speaking on that and distancing himself from people that were okay with that kind of abuse towards women is also why he's not here no more. Had there not have probably been so much pushing from the NOI to get Brother Malcolm X, it probably would have still happened because the brother was on smoke, but it probably wouldn't have happened as soon because they were absolutely pushing for that shit. I don't know if you've seen the absolutely abhorrent video. I gotta throw this goofy ass Negro in here too. Farrakhan, bitch ass. There's a whole video of him sitting there like ragging on about how Malcolm Gatwood was coming to him. And it's like, Like it's one of the most foremost speakers for Black Americans in the history of our people existing. And you're over here talking about how they deserve to die because he spoke against your little pedophile ass prophet. No, sir. No, sir. All of y'all got blood on your hands. And I hope God doesn't like ugly in that regard. I hope God isn't cool with assassins and people that are out here trying to destroy and destabilize for their gain and their betterment. I don't like that shit. Not at all. Not at all. Again, like I said, Marcus Garvey. Motherfuckers love propping Marcus Garvey up. And again, this is not a Black American, but he's spoken about in Spaces and Spirals, and him and Du Bois got into it where they were both being super colorist and crazy and nasty and disgusting to each other. Apes and gorillas and all sorts of other nonsense. Garvey had a God complex. Garvey liked to put his hands on people. Garvey was not a very smart business person. Just wasn't. He walked himself into a bunch of different traps that the federal government set for them as they were expanding their little Garveyite empire. So whilst I absolutely say I think it was a general positive that he uplifted the psyche of the diaspora as a whole, he himself wanted to go back to Africa and colonize a part of it for Christianity, and seeing himself as like this emperor guy thing with, like I said, the whole, you're putting hands on people, abandoning your wives, like, why are you being allowed to lead when you've got these major glaring problems? That's something I feel like that the Black community as a whole, the diaspora as a whole, Black American, like just in general, we got to really like figure out what this problem we seem to have with allowing niggas to lead that like to put their hands on people and like to be sexually inappropriate with children and minors. It's the same thing with women and children. I don't get it at all. I really don't get it. And that leads me to the next two people. James Brown liked to put his hands on women. Super documented. Marvin Gaye, same thing. Like, why are we boosting up these people that can't keep their fucking hands to themselves, that like to engage in, I would say, violent sexual behavior towards people, Like, why, like, how talented, how much you accomplished. Because, like, whether you're a so-called leader, community spokesperson, or you're an artist, like, that shouldn't fucking matter. Like, the R. Kellys, the Chris Browns, like, all these people, like, I think it's so fucking important for us to celebrate our greatness, what we have accomplished. But it's like, as we continue to build into the future, we got to really start to, like, hone in on the areas where we've got to improve. We can't continue to pass things down like this. We can't, because we're not ever going to get to that point where we're healed enough as a people, or we're strong enough as a people, if we still got motherfuckers running around touching on kids, abusing women, and so on and so forth. It's just not going to work. And there being no accountability. There not being anyone that's really, like, there to regulate in that specific way. Where if there's no real accountability, obviously trying to go through the American injustice system is not going to get you very far. It's not. And I would never tell anyone not to, but we know that there are certain things you should expect if you do end up being at the mercy of the American injustice system. So that's my little 2 cents and 2-step on that. To end this episode, I'm going to say 2 Black American legends I'm just throwing in there to take this from denigration to uplifting. Tupac Amaru Shakur and Assata Shakur. Those 2 individuals and all the people that were involved with the Black Liberation Army. Those things right there, when it comes for showing up and showing out and really meeting your people where they're at and really putting on for the cause and being true revolutionaries, not just beep, 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 beep. That's it right there. That is literally it right there. Your Nat Turners, you're the countless other of our ancestors that led in slave rebellions. They stopped recording, there were so many. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of shit that those are the types of people we should be aspiring towards. We shouldn't be comfortable being wage slaves. We shouldn't be comfortable being abused by these companies. We shouldn't be comfortable with just having the shortest month, that's the coldest month in the year, no matter where you fucking live. You know what I'm saying? Like the dying embers of winter. You know? Or it's like, we should be thinking about these things. We should be aware. We should always be pushing ourselves to gather more knowledge, gather more information, and just be aware of what we're up against. Yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of the So I've Been Thinking podcast. Stay black, stay blessed, stay bold, be yourself, continue to learn, edify yourself, honor your ancestors, and just strive, yo. Keep striving. Keep striving. So much love. Peace. Huh? Yeah, peace. I'm sorry, I forgot my own signature. Send off. Peace, love, power. Happy Black History Month. I'll see y'all same time next week. We'll be a lot more positive. I just had to get some of that off my chest because I'm sick of seeing certain motherfuckers in the montage. Fuck Obama too. We might talk about him next week. Love y'all.